Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and boy, has it ever been a long time. About 5 weeks, I think, since my last post. Guys, I am so sorry. Unfortunately, things have been ridiculously busy for me. After I posted my last video, things started getting into the swing of exams. Midterms came up for me, so I spent a few weeks, or I think 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks before I was studying my butt off, and then the week of, and obviously then actual midterm week. So 2 weeks before, on the weekend, I spent a whole weekend studying, and then the next weekend studying, and then midterm week I was busy too, and then after midterm week, kind of relaxing, and then just this past week, my uncle died of a heart attack. He was 46, completely unexpected. And so the family was pretty in shambles as a result. And this past weekend, I spent a lot of time doing stuff surrounding that. So at the funeral home, in the receiving line and such, since I am his nephew. And then also at a celebration of life, and then having family over after that. And on Sunday, I had to do a bunch of homework because I didn't have any time on the weekend. So, yeah, it's been a long time, but I am hoping to get another video out and hoping to get kind of back into the swing of things before my finals come up, which is in a month and a bit. So, yeah, very compressed summer term for me, unfortunately, but now we're going to get a video out. So, prepare to see another episode of Strategical Analysis sent in by Forest Rooster for my 500 subscriber special, and I thank you all so much for the support. I'm very happy to be producing these things for you guys, even if I'm not able to get them out at as much of a pace as I would like. But thank you all for sticking by me even through these droughts. So, without further ado, I will be right back when we begin. Alright, and welcome back. We are going to be taking a look at Forest Rooster facing off against Izeal, where Forest Rooster is leading the forces of the Vampire Counts against Izeal's Wood Elves. So once we hop into this match, we'll take a look at the comps. Looks like for a starter, we can see Forest Rooster is playing the Red Duke, and Izeal does have the classic Glady, probably on a dragon, especially against Vampire Counts. It's pretty dang effective. And here we are. So let's pause the game, or at least put it into slow motion, because this is a game that actually goes for quite a while, and it ends up being very close, so I'm told, and we will find out how close it actually gets. So we see from Forest Rooster here on the left flank, we have 2 units of Dire Wolves and the Dire Pack all hidden in the trees. These trees are kind of deceiving. I know on these maps, especially where the trees are really small, you see a patch like that and you're like, oh, nothing could hide in there. But apparently things still can hide. So it's deceivingly small, but make sure that you do check those and don't get surprised by anything popping out of there. We do see 2 units of Blood Knights and the Red Duke atop of his Hellsteed. I don't think that Hellsteed's the flying one. Top of his Nightmare, probably. And then we see 3 units of zombies for some padding in the front line. We have a Necromancer, who is just bringing Raised Dead Invocation of Nehek. 3 units of Graveguard and the Sternsman in the back line, classical Sternsman. And we do have the Feasters in the Dusk, which do have stock and poison attacks, damage dealer, good against Wood Elves. And because of their stock, they are actually hidden in plain sight here. And then over here in the middle, we see Izeal's bringing forward his Glady on the Forest Dragon, along with a Great Eagle. Great Eagle, interesting pick. Not super good. I guess he was thinking that potentially Forest Rooster might have brought, for example, the Red Duke on a flying mount, and then he would be able to take him out, but it was not the case, so we'll have to see if that Eagle can get anything done. And then deploying in the 4 left corner, bit of a corner camper, it looks like, at the start for the Wood Elves. We have 2 units of Wildwood Rangers on the flanks. So we've got 2 units of Horde Dancers, Azrai Spears, Glade Guard, Starfire Shaft, 3 units of them, 4 units of Eternal Guard with no shields, because Vampire Counts don't have any ranged units, although sometimes it is worth it to bring the shields just for the extra 6 to 7 melee defense that it provides. We do see the Treekin, 1 unit of Treekin in the front here, and a unit of Deepwood Scouts hidden here. So let's see what we can, let's hop into the battle. Glady on the Forest Dragon, moving forward with the Eagle. Obviously, nothing to threaten them right now. It looks like she's going to be taking some pot shots. We'll have to see what this Eagle exactly does. If the Eagle decides to go in, this could be very dangerous. And it looks like the Blood Knights are going to turn around. Eagle's going to pull right back out. So did a tiny bit of damage to the Red Duke. But I don't know if it's going to be able to make it out. It needs a clear path, clear runway. And the Blood Knights are hopping right on it. Oh, Van Hell's Dance Macabre, plus 24% speed, plus 34 melee attack. And the Great Eagle, is it going to be able to lift off? Blood Knights are in pursuit, but they can't catch on fast enough. Took just a little bit of damage, but that could have been far worse. We can see Forest Rooster moving some of his extra cavalry up on the left flank here, out of the trees that were over here. As you can see, his opponent did deploy in their back left corner, looking from their side. Now, against Wood Elves, I mean Wood Elves, and against Wood Elves, a lot of cavalry is extremely powerful. And this is due to the fact that although Wood Elves has a lot of anti-large, they have very little armor as well. And the problem with the anti-large is most of it is really slow. This is why it looks like Izeal has opted to deploy in the corner so that he can't get... so that they can't use his slow troops against him, because if you bring a ton of cav, sure, you've got a lot of anti-large, but if you've got 5 units of cav, one of those cavalry units is bound to break through, and even if just one breaks through, it causes absolute havoc, especially if your archers are near each other, right? You get one unit coming in here, maybe they get engaged by this Azrai Spear. You get another unit coming in here, gets engaged by the Wildwood. Another unit coming in here, gets engaged by this Azrai Spear. Another unit coming in here, gets engaged by that Wildwood. But a 5th unit can sneak around the back, and as soon as they get into these Glade Guard, they're so close together that they can hop onto this one, and they have to run away, and then they can hop onto that one. That one has to run away, hop onto this one. That one has to run away, and it just causes absolute havoc. Looks like the Red Duke's taking a bit amount of damage, and it looks like the Great Eagle... engaged again and took some more damage. Don't know if the if Izeal is using his or her Great Eagle to the best effect here. It would probably be better to hop on something like the Necromancer once we get a bit further into the battle. You know, save some of that energy or stamina, I suppose. You see the Red Duke pushing forward, getting ready with his cav. Might be a good idea for Forest Rooster to try and split his calves, so he'd be forced to split his attention. We'll have to see how he can do this. And let's speed it up a bit. We can see Izeal is moving back his Glade Lord and Great Eagle to try and get in range of his troops. And actually, no, he's going to stop here and take some more pot shots at the Red Duke. Now we can see Deepwood Scouts opening up, although not a very good target, wasting a lot of ammo on just 100 gold zombies. Definitely not what he wants. And now... he's going to be forced to pull back as here come the Direwolves. They're going to take some damage from the Starfire Shafts. And as you can see, right, the War Dance of Azrai Spears are fast, but they're not fast enough. Although the Direwolves are going to turn and engage, it looks like he's just turning to engage to keep them busy so that the rest of his units can get on the Rangers. But they all get caught up here. This is bad news. This is not where Forest Rooster wants to be. War Dancers with Azrai Spears are going to tear these Direwolves to pieces. And same with the Starfire Shafts that are firing in. But we do manage to get the Dire Pack on top of the Deepwood Scouts. And they are going to get shredded so quickly. Unbelievable here. We can see Forest Rooster's bringing his Blood Knights around, looking to hope... he's probably looking to try and engage from the flank here. Don't know if he wants to run into these War Dances with Azrai Spears. But as you can see now, a bit of the issue now in Izeal's line is that all of his War Dancers, his very fast anti-large, is engaged over on this flank. Now the Blood Knights could push right through the middle and slam into the rear of these Glade Guard, and that could be just catastrophic, taking out the range support that early on in the battle where they've hardly emptied any of their clip. We'll have to see how he manages to use them. And we do see Forest Rooster also bringing his Feasters of the Dusk, although they could be moving a little bit faster here. Getting them into position faster would be ideal, but it looks like Izeal's not really paying attention to his War Dancers with Azrai Spears, who are currently chasing these Dire Pack off the map. Both units definitely not necessary, and it looks like Forest Rooster is not going to take... he looks like... oh, he's been engaged on by the Great Eagle, so he's going to pull both units of Blood Knights. I don't think that's necessary. I think it definitely would have been useful if he had taken one of his units of Blood Knights and pulled them around on the flank here and taken out these Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. In the moment, obviously, it's... you know, you don't think as clearly, and there's definitely, you know, hindsight's 20/20, definitely a lot more things you think you can do better. I think at this point he wants to get his Grave Guard engaged. Just take out these, oh yeah, this is what he's doing. Take out these Eternal Guard as fast as possible, and we're going to see a nice charge in here as they come to reinforce the line of zombies, who are essentially nothing but a meat shield here. Soak up the Eternal Guard charge. and just keep them at bay. And we do see the War Dancer with the Azrai Spears coming back. Fortunately, Forest Rooster could not take advantage of the hole in the line, and now they're going to be coming back here. The question is, are they going to form up, or are they going to be sent into the fray? They do have armor piercing. They are melee experts, so they're going to do very well against Graveguard. But, oh, here we go. The Dragon hopping right onto the Necromancer, doing a huge chunk of damage right away, but we can see zombies spawn behind her. And the Blood Knight's coming in. This could be catastrophic. He has to pull out immediately, but the zombies are slowing her down. Blood Knight's coming in, going to do quite a bit of damage. Another unit of zombies spawned. Forest Rooster is doing so well here. And meanwhile, in the back line, the remnants of the Dire Pack are going to be charging in. These Treekin are somehow, for some reason, back here to reinforce. Treekin, definitely not the unit you want in the back line here. These Treekin should be at the front line holding their own. In the back, they're not doing much. They're slow, so slow. Very hard for them to actually catch anyone. And their health and durability is not being put to use just standing in the back line. I apologize for a bit of the lag here. I'm not exactly sure why it's so laggy. Hopefully it'll clear up for a little bit here. And we can see that the Blood Knights are just charging right after this Glade Lord. We'll have to see if she manages to get away. Meanwhile, the Red Duke is being fired on by those Deepwood Scouts and some Starfire Shafts. Looks like the Glady is not going to be able to get away. Now, I think it's a little bit of a mistake from Forest Rooster here to be committing so many forces. We have the Necromancer, 3 units of Zombies, 2 units of Blood Knights, all away on top of this Glade Lord. I think only, like, those units of Zombies and the 1 unit... Oh, we also use Graveguard. I think only the 1 unit of Blood Knights and the few units of Zombies that he spawned on top of him would have needed to follow. The rest could have easily pulled around here and slammed into the flank of these Glade Guard. Definitely would have been useful. And we can see Feasters in the Dusk were caught by the Treekin. Unfortunately, they're not going to do as much damage as they could, but they do still have a large portion of their units fighting this unit of Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. We're going to see Blood Knight still moving here, ready to regroup with the Red Duke so that the Glady can't hop onto him. Does the Glady have the Potion of Toughness? Yes, she does, and she hasn't used it yet. I think it's also a bit of a mistake here, keeping these Welded Rangers back. As you can see, the Whittle front line is on the verge of collapsing here, as they've got lost a ton of units, and Graveguard is doing very well, especially the Sternsman taking almost no damage. Looks like he is going to send... Iziel's going to send his War Dancers with Azrai Spears into the fray here. And now Forest Rooster finally gets his Cav mobilizing on the flank. As you can see, his War Dancers are already engaged. A lot of his anti-large is already engaged. Zombies caught up this unit of Welded Rangers. And all he really has here is this 1 unit of Welded Rangers who is starting to get engaged by this unit of Grave Guard. But 2 units of Blood Knights, this anti-large isn't going to be able to hold them back. They're going to be able to slip through. And though the Wildwood Rangers try as they might, they're going to catch on to them a little bit. War Dancers are coming through, but I think they should still be able to make it through. You can see a huge portion of them are already past. Unfortunately, War Dancers and Wildwood Rangers doesn't look like they're fast enough to put the nail in the coffin here. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Again, apologize for the lag. Hoping to have a PC upgrade at some point because the laptop's, it's done well, but not super good with all the CPU usage here. We're going to see the Glady hopping right onto the Red Duke here. We're going to see if she can do any damage amidst the pile of Blood Knights, but I don't know if this was the best idea as there are Blood Knights surrounding him. She's going to take a decent amount of damage, and the fact that she does splash means if she's hitting this single target that's in the middle of a whole bunch of other units, right? Okay, so the way kind of splash attacks work is, let's say you have a splash unit that's, I don't know, like sitting here, a unit that does splash damage, and you are attacking another, like a solo unit here. Then all of the damage from the singular unit, all of the splash damage is going to be directed into one blow against this unit here. However, if this unit here is surrounded by other units and there's a whole glob of units here, the splash damage is going to be distributed amongst all of these units, and therefore going to do less damage as a result. So the Glady isn't going to get much done to the Red Duke here, as the Red Duke is surrounded by Feasters in the Dusk, Blood Knights, but it looks like the Glade Lord has netted the Blood Knights. I don't know if that was necessarily the best idea, although the Blood Knights are very low and about... yeah, they are crumbling. So we also do see the Potion of Toughness pop. Going to bring that Glady way up. Oh, but the Red Duke takes a massive hit. Yikes, this could be bad news. Red Duke surrounded. Wildwood Rangers, Blood Knights, War Dance with Azure Spears. But as you can see, we do have a unit of Blood Knights that did slip through and are causing havoc in the back line. But they're going to be pulled in here, getting ready to run to the aid of the Red Duke. Going to slam into the flank of these Wildwood Rangers. Unfortunately, they weren't in the widest formation, and the trees were in the way, so they didn't get as much done as they could have. But the Red Duke is going to make it away at 344 hit points. Blood Knights definitely holding up the Glady, and I think it's a bit of a mistake for the Glady to be charging right through the Blood Knights, taking a ton of damage. If the Glady had just charged this way through her own units or this way back through the zombies, she would have taken way less damage, instead being caught up on the Blood Knights and taking a lot of unnecessary damage. And the Red Duke does manage to slip through. We can see the carnage here, the front line. Looks like the Eternal Guard have, for the most part, collapsed. And we have a unit of Grave Guard harassing this unit of Gladeguard Starfire Shafts. And Treekin sitting around doing nothing. I think these Treekin would have been way better used, again, in the front line so that they weren't... Treekin could have been way better used in the front line, put their durability to use. Maybe this line still would be here if they were there. But right now, you know, they're at full health, but they don't really do much damage. They're just there for durability, tankiness, to hold the line so you can do other stuff. And at this point in the game, the only thing they are is an HP sponge. They're not going to be doing any damage. They're certainly not going to be catching anyone. And it looks like we have an Arrow of Kernus on the Red Duke. Is that going to seal the deal? 53 HP. And we have the Glady coming in pursuit. Going to try and bring him down. She's going to land. Is she going to catch him? Red Duke falls. This is bad news for Forest Rooster. But he still has a lot of units left. And it looks like Izeal has globbed a lot of his units in one area. This could be a little catastrophic. They're going to be completely surrounded here as all of his remaining Wood Elves are fighting essentially back to back here as Gladeguard get ready to come into the flank. Now, we do have the Necromancer still. If Forest Rooster has any Winds of Magic, this could be very useful. And he also has the Blood Knights, which are going to do huge amount of damage to these Gladeguard if they can hop onto them, which they are going to do. Looks like Izeal's going to try and pull out, but against Blood Knights, they're not going to make it. Although it looks like they kind of abandoned the charge there. Oh, now they're charging again. They're going to do a ton of damage there. The Glady hopping on top of the Necromancer is going to do a ton of damage there. The only problem for Forest Rooster is he doesn't really have anything to kill the Glady now. He's only got his Blood Knights, but they are severely weak. And we do see Izeal still leaving these Treekin here unattended. He is moving everything else back except the Treekin. Treekin could have definitely been used over here, help hold this line a bit, or at least come in from the flank of Forest Rooster's forces. Now, we are going to see a lot of Wood Elves start running, and because he was deployed in the corner, when they start to rout, they're going to run right off the map. No chance of coming back if they're over here because they're deployed right on the edge, and that is one of the dangers of camping in the corner. Now, it looks like the Treekin are finally being sent in, and we have Blood Knights being used to chase some units off the map, and it looks like they're going to come in and try and seal the deal with the Glady here. We're going to see if the Blood Knights can get the job done. Glady is actually taking a lot of damage in this engagement, surprisingly enough. Looks like surrounded by the Grave Guard and the Stearnsman. She's not doing too hot, and as we let the Blood Knights charge in here, they're going to go through the trees, which is going to block their charge a little bit, unfortunately, but they're going to manage to hop on top of the Glady, and that's what matters. Let's see if Forest Rooster can do any damage with them. You can see there, her health is falling a little bit there. Not too much, unfortunately. 1521 taking 80 there, and we'll have to see. Oh, yeah, 1361 dropping rapidly now. Glady's morale is going to tank. It looks like the Necromancer's Encourage aura is helping keep the vampire counts in the battle here, providing that leadership so they don't completely crumble and disintegrate. Looks like the Glady is on the verge of running from the fray, and as she is right on the edge, there's no chance of her coming back. She's going to rout right off the map, and there she goes into Wavering, going to be running away, and she is not going to be coming back from this one. Right on the edge of the map, right off the map, and this is a huge blow to the Wood Elves, but it's so close. We barely have anyone left on the vampire count side. Looks like, but a mass rout ensues on the Wood Elf line. Wildwood Rangers routing so low. They're going to be routing right from the fray, and we still have the Encourage Aura of the Necromancer keeping the rest of the troops alive. We just have the Stearnsmen, some Blood Knights, and the Necromancer. The Blood Knights are going to be of huge help here. Even at such low health, they can run all of these extra Wood Elf units right off the field. If Forest Rooster plays this well, he'll run them over this way to force the units to run that way and right off the field. Fortunately, he does have to pull the Blood Knights back to try and finish off these Treekin, as it's the only anti-large he has left. And the Treekin will still pose a threat as they still have a ton of health and are an HP sponge. Looks like they're going to get slammed into the rear by the Blood Knights. But now the Wood Elves do start to rally. You can see so close. Let's speed it up and see what happens here. Wilder Rangers coming back. If I were Forest Rooster, I would pull out immediately. And yes, exactly. Slam right into the face. These Wildered Rangers rout the Eternal Guard. But unfortunately, it looks like the Blood Knights are going to be routing. And the Blood Knight, not routing, crumbling. And the Blood Knights do fall. And now we're down to the very end, folks. We've got Necromancer, Stearnsman. But I don't know if the Necromancer can hold his own here. 2 units of Wildered Rangers, even though they're at low health, they still have some units left, and the Treekin that are at such high health. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it out. It doesn't look like it. Stearnsmen are crumbling here. Such a well-fought battle, but in the end, nothing to take care of the Treekin, unfortunately, and it looks like it's just going to be the Necromancer running around, and he's certainly not going to be able to do enough damage. Necromancer's going to charge in, try and do a little bit of damage, but is unfortunately going to get surrounded, and it looks like this is going to seal the deal here. Necromancer starting to crumble, and I think this is going to be it for Forest Rooster. You can see the Stearnsmen. We see morale boosts to the Wood Elves as they are winning the engagement, and so falls the Necromancer. And Izeal takes the victory in a ridiculously close battle right to the finish. Wow, Forest Rooster definitely played well on both sides. A lot more could have been done with those Treekin. Definitely not utilized as well as they could have. And I think when facing the Wood Elves, especially as vampire counts, you have to have some kind of contingency plan to deal with the Treekin. Because unfortunately, at the end there, Forest Rooster had nothing to deal with them. Even in his whole comp, he doesn't have anything armor piercing. You know, Treekin are very highly armored. So, nothing to deal with the Treekin, unfortunately. And I think he could have used his cav a little bit better. Obviously, letting all of his direwolves get caught up in the Azrai Spears right at the start was very unfortunate. Even though I know he was trying to stop 1 unit of Azrai Spears with the 1 unit of direwolves, but unfortunately, I feel like the better idea would just have been to pull off. They still probably could have made it to the Deepwood Scouts at least for a few seconds and done some damage, but sending them into the Azrai Spears was a little bit reckless in my opinion, and unfortunately led to their downfall. Now, the Blood Knights, I think, could have been used a little bit better as well. We could see when the Azrai Spears were chasing off that unit of Direwolves, or the Dire Pack, I think it was. There was a huge gap in the line, but unfortunately, Forest Rooster pulled both units back to deal with either the Eagle or the Dragon. I don't quite remember, but at least one of those units could have been sent through the gap in the line and done a ton of damage either to the Wood Elf front line from striking from the rear or the Wood Elf back line and taking out those archers nice and early, as a full health unit of Blood Knights would have absolutely decimated the Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. Nevertheless, though, played well on both sides, and what are you going to do? I mean, corner campers, unfortunately, you're going to face here, and Forest Rooster almost brought him down, but sadly, it just was not enough. So I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.